Welcome to Enrichment Ideas for Bonding with the Dogs. This is a presentation that I'm going to talk about ways that you can make your visits to the pet parent's home a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting, hopefully a little bit more profitable as well. So I'm Robin Bennett. I am the CEO and co-founder of The Dog Gurus, and I am happy to be here with you. So I guess the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what is your fun factor for visiting pet parents right now? A lot of times we just go over there, get the dog, do a little walk, leave a note, and that's it. Or maybe you go over there and do a little bit of training, leave a note, and that's it. What we really want to talk about in this session is just increasing that fun factor. It's going to add more value. It's going to be more fun for the dog, more fun for you, and it is going to help to build your bond with that dog better as well. So in terms of increasing that fun factor, we talk a lot about enrichment and adding enrichment activities, and that's what we're going to talk a lot about on today's presentation. Some of the reasons here as to why you would add enrichment: you're going to build that better bond, you're going to have marketing opportunities, you're going to have happier dogs, happier staff. If that staff is you, you're going to be happier, and increasing revenue is a huge reason to do this. And really, today's pet parent really wants this. We've seen over the last several years a higher increase in kind of the humanization of pets, and also the demand from the pet parent about what types of activities they want their dog to do. So you are really having a great opportunity right now to add this enrichment because the pet parent's going to want it. So building a better bond, really, as a dog trainer, I can tell you that one of the best ways to build a bond with the dog is to do relationship building activities. So obviously we talk about training for that, but in this situation, we're also talking about enrichment. Really, anytime you're working one-on-one with a dog, trying to build a relationship and communicate together, you're going to build a better bond, which is going to help you have a visit to that pet parent's home that is going to be a lot easier in the long term, because that dog is really going to have a better relationship with you. There's also amazing opportunities for marketing when you do these kind of enrichment activities. So here's a photo from ABC Pet Resort and Spa that they would do occasionally at their facility. And in this photo, they literally just captioned it, having a picnic because it's a beautiful day. And they just set out a little picnic table and some little fake fruit in a basket and gave the dog some treats. But this is the type of thing for enrichment that you can do and then take some pictures and use that for opportunity, as an opportunity for marketing. I would always recommend putting your logo on the photo so that others can see it. And if they share it, your logo goes along with it. Healthier, happier dogs. So this is obviously a huge reason that I would add enrichment and additional activities. Obviously, you all know that exercise helps to give an outlet for boredom, but doing enrichment is going to do even more to challenge the dog's brain and get them thinking and get them to relax a little bit once you leave the home. And then happier employees. Again, if you're the employee, you're going to have a lot more fun. So rather than just going for a walk, which is great, you can actually play with the dogs, do enrichment activities with the dogs. It just makes your day a little bit more enjoyable. All right, so what types of activities am I talking about when I'm talking about enrichment? Well, really, the sky's the limit here. You can do high energy activities that really get the dog's cardio up. It might get your cardio up as well. You can do puzzle toys, which are a little bit calmer. You could do small group activities. If you have a pet parent who has multiple dogs, you could do activities that involve all the dogs at the same time. Or if you do group walks or group activities somewhere where it's safe, you could also do those kinds of activities, assuming that all the dogs get along well. And then you could also do calming activities. So things like massage or things that help the dogs to relax. And then the sky's the limit again. So you could actually do parties. You could actually promote this service as a party of some sort, whether it's for a holiday or a seasonal party or a birthday party. And then you can also do arts and crafts, which we see a lot of the times in daycares, they do that. But you could do that doing a pet visit as well and leave a craft for the pet parent for when they come back and see what you've done with their dog for the day. So really, this is as big as you can come up with. You can do any kinds of activities that you find fun and that you think the dog will have fun doing. The great thing about these activities is that you can also do activities that will work for any age dog, whether it's a puppy or a senior dog. And that's the other really good thing about this is those senior dogs who may not be able to go on a long walk, you now have a way of helping them and energizing them and giving them enrichment without necessarily going on a long walk. So here's just a few ideas along that art project. You can do any kind of crafts with paw prints or picture frames or whatever, balance work, fit paws, freestyle, just any kind of fun and games. You can do nature walks, which if you're taking the dog for a walk anyway, you could actually take them to a new location, new area, and involve smells and scents that maybe weren't there the day before. Or you could even add scents. You can go out there before you take the dog out and put different scents or different things for the dogs to find when you go on that walk. So you can make it a little bit more interesting, especially if you go on the same walk every single time that you go to that pet parent's house. Any kind of obstacles or platform training or photo shoots, treadmill, tri-ball. I mean, really, like I said, the sky is the limit in all of this stuff. And then you can do this both indoors and outdoors. So you decide if the weather's great and you and the dog want to be out. You could definitely choose activities that you can do outside, but you can also do a lot of stuff in the house. You don't need a ton of room for some of these activities. So I would really pick what you like, and I would also pick what it works best for the dog. If it's a really cold day out and you're working with a husky, that might be great to go outside. If you're working with a thinner haired breed like a whippet, maybe being outside in the winter isn't the greatest for that particular dog. But really, this can be anything. And when you're adding these kinds of activities, this can be something you do instead of the walk, or it could be an add-on activity to the walk if you're going into that house, or if you're a dog trainer and you're going there to do some training sessions. You could do this as part of the training activity, or you could do this as an add-on activity that you charge an additional fee for and spend a little bit more time to do some of these games and activities with the dogs. So a few equipment and supplies you might want to look at. I mentioned on the earlier side, FitPaws equipment. So you see in this picture, the dog is on a large peanut, which is made by FitPaws. You can also see some of the balance equipment that they use, the FitBone, which is another balance equipment. So there's a lot of things out there, and I would get something that is designed for dogs. And then you also see a Climb in that picture, which is the blue table with the legs. I don't make money off of promoting these products. I'm just telling you because these are products that are out there, easily accessible, relatively easy to carry around in your car and use. If you really wanted to get fancy, you could also do a VIP option where the price includes the purchase of some of this equipment, and then the owner would actually have it at their house when you arrive. So that's another consideration as well. With the Climb, I know they actually offer dealer discounts. So if you become a dealer of the Climb, you could actually have your client purchase the Climb. You would make a little bit of money off of the sale of it, and then it could be drop shipped to your client's house. So that's another option. Or you can get it and then bring it over there and leave it there. But all of these things are pretty portable, so you can put them in your car and take them and use them at various locations. And then some other useful toys or supplies to look at. And these don't have to be, for like the tunnels and the jumps, these don't have to be agility level quality. You could just get some fun tunnels from the store. We used to use just kids' tunnels that we got from the store in our daycare environment. Obviously, you're not going to leave them out for the dog to chew on because they're not that durable, but they are plenty durable enough to take to an owner's house, let the dog run through them, put them back in your car, take them to the next location. Any kind of jumps, and literally you can create jumps with a couple cans of soup and a broom. You don't need anything fancy, but you can buy portable jumps, any kind of toys like Kong toys or puzzle toys or rope toys. And again, those puzzle toys can be something that you just make on your own. Things like the snuffle mat. You can take the Climb and turn it upside down and throw treats in it. And that becomes a puzzle toy for the dog to find the treats within the little nooks and crannies of the Climb when it's turned upside down. You could also just take treats and hide them in the house. So you don't necessarily have to buy all these toys and equipment, but obviously the more things you have, the more fun you can do, the more variety you can offer. So again, the sky's the limit here. So these are just a few ideas. So some of the activities to offer, and I'm going to show some videos of some of these in a second, but like I said, smaller group activities. This is where you have maybe a group setting where you get multiple dogs together anyway, or maybe the pet parent just has multiple dogs. So you could do some activities in smaller groups. So here's a little video. So we call this toys and games, beyond the tennis ball. So these giant balls that you can get and play with, some dogs absolutely love to play with those. You can see it here being used in a daycare setting, but you can also take this over to the pet parent's house if you have an enclosed yard for this kind of fun. Here you see some small dogs. So this is not just necessarily a large dog game. And you can do this with one dog or multiple dogs. The tug-o ball, if you have seen the tug-o ball, it's a ball that you can fill with water. And dogs that like to tug, this is a great game. For some reason, that sloshing of the water in the ball helps to keep the dogs engaged. So this is another fun game, either for multiple dogs or, again, you could do it yourself. Really using balls of any sort, any kind, different sizes. Tug toys, all of these things are going to have an interest to most dogs. Some of these Jolly balls, which are hard plastic balls, are also really good toys. They're very durable. And you can use them in somebody's backyard or in the house. Some of them you can actually fill with some treats. And then you could also use sticks. So these are the Go Nuts, and they actually come in different shapes and sizes. Food puzzle toys. So again, I love the 6-pack holder there with Kongs in it. But they also sell a lot of puzzle toys now that you can purchase. And again, these are toys that if the owner really sees pictures or videos, they may want to purchase them. So you could set up an Amazon affiliate and send them a link to purchase it. So you could make some money that way. Or like I said, you could just have them yourself and sell them. Not everybody wants to have a lot of inventory. So sometimes I look at affiliate links as well as an option. But all of these puzzle toys are using the dog's brain, and that will tire a dog out just as much, if not more, as cardio. And then I mentioned individual activities. So one-on-one games, always remembering that if you are going to do multiple dogs, you do want to make sure that the dogs get along well together and don't guard things. But you can also do things with individual dogs. So these are activities you can do, kind of what I call it beyond fetch. So here's some balloon games, and these, obviously this would be for a dog that doesn't chew balloons, but you can hide toys in those balloons and have them pop it like a piñata. Bubbles is super fun. Lots of dogs love bubbles. This pit ball, this would be a little bit harder to carry around, but not impossible. A muffin tin where you hide treats underneath the tennis balls within the muffin tin, and that's becomes a puzzle game for dogs. So you could use that type of a puzzle activity. Again, pretty easy to transport from one house to another. Nose work is a great game, especially for older dogs. So most older dogs, even when they aren't physically capable of doing a lot of work, they can still use their nose. So here you're teaching the dog to find a treat in a box. So just by tossing treats in there, so they get used to looking in that box. And then you start to take those boxes and pretend you're putting treats in them, but you only actually put treats in one of the boxes. And then you let the dog go find the box with the treat in it. And again, this is an activity that is mental enrichment, so it is causing the dog to use its nose and use its brain to think about where that treat might have gone to. So there he found the treat that was in that middle box. And this is a game that you can increase the level of difficulty as the dog gets better at the game. So here they've added a few more boxes. And eventually you can even take the dog out of the room, go hide the treats, and then let the dog back in the room and let them search through the boxes, because they will start to understand that they're looking for a treat hidden in a box. So then again, fit paws, any type of balance work is really good for dogs. This is actually a 12-year-old dog right here. This is some little Samoyed, but she is super agile, and part of that is because she's done so much balance work. Balance work you can do in very short increments as well. Just a couple of minutes doing this balance work is really enough for most dogs. It really does challenge their core, just like balance work does for humans. But this is great for older dogs as well, and really helps them to maintain their health, as well as just give them something to do that's not as physical. Obstacle courses, any kinds of obstacles you can create, any kind of agility or jumps or tunnels. Obviously, some of this stuff you're not going to necessarily carry from house to house, but if you have dogs that come to you, they could do it. And then tricks, you can do tricks pretty much anywhere. Tribal is essentially herding with large balls. Instead of herding sheep, this dog is actually learning to herd certain balls to the person. So this is another fun game. You can take that large game of playing with balls and actually teach the dog to bring them to you. So that's what's happening here. Really good for those herding breeds that like to herd things anyway, like the border collies or Aussies or that kind of thing. And then another really good individual activity is wolf sticks. This is, you can create this just with a toy on a stick, basically. You do want to watch that the dog doesn't jump too high. And then Godo Dog Pals, this is really just remote control toys that you can get the dog to chase. So if you have a dog that really loves running and you're just working with one dog, you can get this type of remote control type of a toy that the dog can chase. Similar to lure coursing in a way. And they actually have portable lure coursing sets now as well. This one is a lot of physical activity. So water games, there's a lot of individual activities you can think of that you could throw it in your car, take it over to the pet parent's house, and start working with that dog. Again, you do want to charge more for these types of activities because they're probably going to take a little bit longer. And then one-on-one attention, those are any of those kind of calming activities that I mentioned before, where maybe you're doing an individual tug or you're doing tricks. But I would also look at things like massage or Tellington touch or any type of really individual activity that you can do with that dog. I talked a little bit about climbs. Climbs are a product made by Blue Nine Pet Products, and it's one of the best activities that I would say that you can add to your enrichment is doing anything with the climb. First of all, you can see here you can stack them in multiple ways. You can actually take the legs off of the climb. So if you have small dogs, those legs come off and the climb is obviously much closer to the ground. But climbs are great because they are very durable, very easy to carry around. They do have a handle. They're pretty lightweight. They're extremely strong. and you can just do so much with them. So Blue Nine Pet Products does have a YouTube channel where they have lots and lots of videos showing you all the different things you can do with the climb. This is one of my absolutes. I would definitely recommend having some of these to take over to your pet parent's house. And like I said, you might want to have a VIP option that includes a climb that stays at that pet parent's house that you sell to them. A lot of climb work you can do for conditioning. So not just for the dog to have fun, but you can actually do conditioning with the climb. The AKC now actually does have a fit dog program, and it is done using the climb. It's taught actually by the instructor at Blue Nine Pet Products. And I took the course a couple months ago. It's a very good course, teaches you some really good basics. So you could actually add that as a totally separate program to sell and do that type of conditioning work using the climb when you go to your pet parents' houses. So that's actually a whole nother add-on service that you could include with your services. So here's a video. This is actually from Blue Nine, and here's a great example of just some fun things. Some of these are a little bit more advanced, but lots of fun things you can do with the climb. So lots of fun activities if you've got a more active dog, and if you are interested in being a little bit more active as well. Those are some really fun things you can do. And again, your clients are going to love that. They make great videos for marketing, and it's going to set you apart as doing something a little bit different with that dog when you go over to the house. So you do want to make sure with all of this enrichment, all of this activity, that you are balancing the safety and fun for the dogs. You do want to make sure that the activities you're choosing are right for the age and size of the dog and that they're having fun. So you want to know that you're watching the dog's body language to make sure it is a fun activity, and you want to keep everything safe, obviously. So making sure that fun play does not include these types of activities. So we would not recommend using your body as a toy. You want to make sure that the dog understands the tug games are for tug toys, that they're not jumping up on you or getting overly excited and hurting you. Any kind of games that tease or frustrate the dog, obviously we want to avoid those. I typically would avoid rough and tumble or wrestling play because we don't want the dog to do that to another person, or to, especially if that dog has a child in the home or an older adult that they could hurt. So you want to make sure that all of these games are really games that the dog learns how to do the game and what obstacle or toy is meant for the game, so they don't just try to turn the game into you. Anything that increases the emotional arousal of the dog without being able to calm them down, you want to make sure you're monitoring that as well. And then you do want to consider the energy level of the dog. Some of this will be because of the dog's temperament. Some of this just might be because of the dog's age. But what I would consider soft dogs, those are a little bit more calm, a little bit more shy, a little bit more nervous maybe. They can actually be encouraged to do lots and lots of play, but your energy level usually has to come up. You have to be really moving a lot. You have to move away from the dog to get them possibly to chase you. Be calming in terms of approaching them. So you're going to approach sideways, give them a lot of verbal encouragement, and make sure that they are having fun. So really watching their body language to make sure for those softer dogs that you're not scaring them by trying to play is really important. And then those more confident dogs, these are the dogs that are more likely you start a game and they immediately want to jump on you or grab your arm or grab your pant leg. Those you want to watch out for because you want to make sure that you're in charge of the game, making sure that you're not getting them too aroused. Usually you have to lower your energy level with those types of dogs, and just to get them to prevent them from getting too crazy with the game. And sometimes you have to play games in very short increments. So maybe just play a game for a minute or two and then stop, get the dog to calm down, and then go back to the game. So you want to monitor all that as well as you're playing these games. Some tips: making sure that toys go in the mouth, making sure that the dog doesn't bite anything other than the toy. If they start grabbing your hand instead of the toy, then I would end the game. Making sure that you understand that sounds can reduce pressure on the dog. And what I mean by that is giving them encouragement, talking to them, not necessarily tons of yelling and screaming, but at least giving them encouragement. If you just are playing without making any noise at all, that can be a little bit scary to some dogs. They just don't understand what you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're giving them reinforcement verbally as well. Some touch is great. Making sure, especially with puppies, that touch is really good. Increasing the verbal communication with the puppy is really good. But you also want to make sure that anything you're doing, watch the arousal of the dog and how much the dog gets revved up, especially if they don't have an off switch. That happens very easily. So with puppies, maybe if you're playing with a toy, making sure that they don't get so revved up that the toy they become obsessed with it. Maybe take the toy away occasionally. With adult dogs who know a little bit of obedience, and with puppies also, because you can start teaching them some basic commands like sit. If they get too revved up, you can just have them stop, ask them to sit, ask them to lay down, give them a little bit of a break, and then go back to playing again. So again, the goal of this is for you and the dog to have fun without it getting out of control. You want to make sure that you do create guidelines for any activities you're using. I do a lot of release words, which just typically means the game is on. You can let them start playing. If you ask them to sit, for instance, then release them to let them go chase a ball. You can use a word like okay or break or free. You want to make sure that if it's a new game that you are teaching them how to play it. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time for a dog to learn it. So it might be something that you do over multiple visits. Making sure that if you're using the leash, making sure that that's safe for you and the dog. You're using any tools or equipment safely. And then make sure you have permission from the owners for whatever you're using, like especially if you're using food or any types of toys or treats. You just want to make sure that the owner is okay and that you ask the owner if there are any physical limitations of that dog. For instance, if the dog is older, then you want to make sure that things like nose work are great for older dogs, but maybe not jumping. If the dog has any kind of ailment or hip dysplasia or something like that, you need to make sure that you ask those questions as well, because you obviously don't want to aggravate any kind of a problem. And most of the time we have already included those types of questions in our initial paperwork. So it's really just a matter of going back and just confirming that. So in terms of increasing revenue, you do want to understand how to price these services. And the very first thing you have to understand is how much it costs you to do this in terms of whatever supplies you might need and whatever time it's going to take you. Make sure that you factor those two things in before you price anything. And then you want to make sure you can explain the value. I can guarantee that for most of your clients, they're going to understand the value when you start to show pictures or videos or all the fun that the dogs are having. But you do want to make sure that you can explain the value, because that is how you are going to sell it based on whatever price you come up with. And then you're going to set those new policies based on any kind of add-on services that you've included. So for instance, you might have a base minimum amount for a visit to a pet parent's home, and then you have 3 add-on services that they can pick from in a given week. Or maybe you just give them a whole a la carte menu and they can pick from that. It's really up to you. Obviously, at things like the holidays, I would market some of your holiday activities so that you're changing things up so that there's a little bit different thing you can do every time. Or maybe you set it so that you say, for the next 6 visits, we'll do this activity to really build the dog's skill. However you want to do that, but you want to come up with those policies. And then you want to start marketing it. And photos likely are going to be your best marketing tool. I would actually say photos and videos, making sure that you practice with some dogs, get some great videos, some great photos, and you can use those to start marketing your whole new add-on services. All right, hopefully this helped to give you some ideas of how you can generate a little more revenue when you go over to do those pet parent visits. And if you have questions, just give me an email at robin@thedoggurus.com. You can also visit our website. We do have some information on how to price your services, particularly a product called Pet Profits. Know Your Numbers is a really good tool to use to understand your pricing as well. And you can see that over at our website.